Um, the instructions read that for the speakers, when they have 2 minutes up, they will get the green card and light. At 1 minute left, it will be the yellow and red when your time has expired. That means when you start seeing the yellow or red, start trying to wrap it up. And if you go on and on, I can buzz. For table topics, really, you need to try to talk at least for 1 minute. So keep on talking until I put the green card up. And then when I show the yellow card up, it's because we have gone for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then the red means that your time has expired at 2 minutes. Evaluators, you have 2 to 3 minutes. The green card and light will go up at 2 minutes, and yellow at 2.5, and the red will go up at 3 minutes. And with that, thank you much. Any? 8?
I think Joe was up to no good when he told me. Our first speaker of the day is John. He is apparently a chip off the old block. He has asked for 7 to 9 minutes to work on his 8th, as he put it, I like the term confident communicator manual. Please welcome John.
At the bottom right of the screen, it says screen. You just push it down.
Oh, yeah.
And did you grab your clicker?
No,
Do you want me to click for you?
I can click too. Is this, just say this? All right, let's go to screen mode. If I get to full screen mode. If I go, okay, let's see. How do I do?
I can see if I can click.
Okay. When I was first learning what's up with somebody from the UP about wood carving, he said, if you look at a block of wood, just chip off or take whatever off that doesn't look like a duck, and you'll have a duck. So I looked at the piece of wood and said, what's up? I guess it goes. Good afternoon, fellow Toastmasters, and I guess we're all Toastmasters. And this afternoon I'm going to tell you 3 things about wood carving. Some of the woods that are used during wood carving. Oops. Maybe. Some of the tools that are used, and then I'm going to give you a few examples as well. The first kind of wood that I'm going to talk about is the basswood. Oh, excuse me, I forgot this slide. These are some of the different types of woods that I use. I will show them in better pictures along the line. This is basswood, a wormy butternut, catalpa, walnut, maple, and that's a catalpa and a walnut screen. And if you want to go to the next one, Chris. When you carve, you buy a blank. This is one of the beginning items. It's a basswood blank. Basswood is a very easy soft wood to carve with, and it doesn't have much grain. A lot of it's used for painting. A drawback of it, though, is it's a very soft wood. You can make a lot of mistakes, and it doesn't finish up very well. The next green is catalpa. It has it was very difficult to get good pictures of this. It has a wide grain in it. It's beautiful when a varnish is put on to it, but that wide grain makes it also difficult. It's very easy to make mistakes, and they're harder to cover up. This is a wormy butternut. This is my favorite thing to carve with. It has a very nice grain. You see all the different holes. I think they're very beautiful when they're done. But with all these holes, it's very easy to make a mistake with your knife or gouge and then you have to fix all your mistakes. The next one is maple. Maple's beautiful, it has a very tight grain. On this you can see pencil marks along the edge. Use that to see what am I going to take away, what do I go with. We'll show an example of this a little bit later in it. And the next screen is walnut, duck, or loon. Walnut is beautiful, a very hard wood, very difficult to work with. You have to, after about 10 or 15 minutes, you have to sharpen your knives or gouges again, and that takes about 10 to 15 minutes to get them sharp each time. This is a very important piece. It's one of the tools that we go through. As you can see, there's lots of holes and dings in this. It's a wire mesh glove. If you don't have it, you can slice your hand. Even with your the glove on, you can give yourself a good cut, which you really don't want to do. Next slide is a desk tool. What you do is you set this on the edge of a table or a desk. There's a little piece of wood say on the bottom of this, and you put your carving blank into the corner. As you can see, there's lots of gouges and marks from when the knives slip and go into it. This is one of the ones that my kids use. Okay, next thing I'll talk, there are many different tools that you can have. There's many different knives, different lengths, used for many different things. You can spend as much money as you want on tools, let me tell you. And these start about 20 bucks a pop. So, one thing that I do when I'm carving is make sure that they're sharp enough. I use a diamond cutting stone to sharpen them. I run it across the top of my fingernail, and if it doesn't go through smoothly, I know I need to get it sharper. So if you see me in the winter, you'll see all little kinds of gashes across my thumbnails. The next slide is a picture of gouges, and there's a ton of different gouges. I just took a picture of 3. This one is basically a flat gouge, just flat across the bottom. And then you can get it curved, they start curving all the way up until you can get to this one, which is basically U-shaped. And then this is a V-gouge, which basically just for making straight lines and doing things like that. This one is very difficult to sharpen because you have to sharpen both edges and trying to get down deep into that V. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you some of the different examples. This is a carving made out of basswood. As you can see, there's no real grain on it. It has a clear finish on it. And some people like to paint it. This is a relief carving. You can see some of the shadows actually carve up underneath that. The next slide is a duck made out of catalpa. You can see the big wide grain here. This, between the wings, is what you use a V-tool for. And if we go on to our next slide, this is on a butternut. This is my daughter's Christmas present last year. And the difference in here is this is a relief carving, but it has a different color stain on the background. Okay. This is an aspen leaf made out of butternut. I think butternut is very beautiful, and what I can do here is I'll start these around, and my wife loves the leaves, so I've made many different leaves over the years. And the next slide, oh, okay, I'm sorry, I got this out of order, is a loom made out of the wormy butternut. As you can see all the holes in it. And for me, it adds an additional piece of character to that. Okay. Here's this is a maple leaf that you saw being passed around. This is how it started in the very beginning. It can be a challenge. This leaf would probably take 30 or 40 hours of time to make, and if you're a perfectionist, you could double or triple that. And I do it to relax and not a perfectionist. Okay? Now here you see the difference between the walnut and the maple side by side. Everything the same varnish, finish, everything, it's just the different woods. And this I threw in there, it was a Christmas present to the kids. This is actually a piece of cedar. I never finished it because I wanted the smell. I didn't want to trap the smell inside of it. So as I started off with the beginning and saying, you know, take whatever off that doesn't look like a duck. My grandfather, who I've talked about some before in other speeches, was a wood carver, and he was a perfectionist. He did beautiful stuff. So now I give my kids Christmas presents. So I guess I'm really a chip off the old block.
Okay, we have 1 minute for quick evaluation. And there is our minute. Our next adventuring speaker has requested 6 to 8 minutes to offer his 4th speech in the Competent Communicator Manual. And the title of his speech is Inflatable 5K. Please welcome Tom for his speech.
Nobody else is using PowerPoint. It was June 20th, 2015. The morning was slightly brisk, as that day it had just rained. I got up in the morning, showered, dressed, was all packed, ready to go for such an amazing day. Little did I know how amazing this day would actually be. As in 5 hours, the next 2 to 3 months of my life would be drastically changed. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests, I'm going to take you on a short journey which may not be suitable for those faint of heart. During this journey, we're going to envision dreams of Iowa. We're going to experience that crashing moment. And I'm going to share some humorous tidbits that you may not have expected over the last 3.5 weeks now, but at that point, the next 3.5 weeks. We left Rochester and headed south toward Iowa, headed south toward Cedar Rapids, headed south toward the 5K inflatable race. The clouds were dark They were ominous, they were puffy, but we didn't care because the forecast in Iowa and Cedar Rapids was only 30% chance of rain. The weathermen are never wrong. We kept going. The further into Iowa we got, the more the clouds started looking like Mount Doom from the Lord of the Rings. It was as though we got somehow sucked into a water fight with water balloon bombardments on both sides of us. Massive squirt guns firing at my windshield. We were in a monsoon. This is awesome! This race is going to be great! We envisioned high bouncing castles with rushing water, having to climb through that like on The Amazing Race. We envisioned long slip and slides. We got to Cedar Rapids. They only had a 5-cent squirt gun that was squirted on their inflatable races. We did not get what we thought. During the race, one of our team members developed shin splints. Now, we were comrades. We weren't going to leave any person behind, so we decided we're just going to walk this race. That's until we saw the first obstacle, at which point we darted full throttle into the obstacle, through the obstacle, and then wait on the other side for everybody else to catch up. We continued this for the rest of the race. That is until I became an ant to a shoe. This obstacle, the base of it was 2 feet off the ground. It extended for another 5 feet. There was a steep slope, then another steep downward slope into a long trench, then back up into another steep slope, then a downward slope, to again a base on that end, which was 2 feet off the ground, 5 feet wide, or long. We approached this like mountain lions, jumping and leaping up onto it, climbing, pushing past these pendulums, gigantic pendulums that were inflatable, hanging down on both of the bases and in the middle. Right before the third pendulum at the top of the slope, I'm looking down and I'm thinking, I'm going to go and approach this one differently. I'm going to dive down this slope, spring up on it, and I'm going to grapple onto this pendulum and swing like Tarzan. No, I'm not. I'm 245 pounds. I'm going to rip that from the ceiling. Was the second thought that I thought. The third thought I thought was, I'm going to be that football linebacker, and this is the quarterback. That thought stuck. I dove down that with such momentum. I had the heart of Rudy in me. And instead of what I anticipated, I lost my footing. The bouncing castle became a springboard. I jumped up and became airbound. I did go through it, but more like a missile than a linebacker, as I plunged face forward into the ground, landing right on my shoulder. Pain, numbness were the only sensations I felt that overtook me. Tried lifting my arm up, immediately came down. I felt my shoulder pushing on it slightly. Felt the bones sliding, grinding, and cracking against each other. I tried standing up and immediately went back down because I became lightheaded. My race was done. I broke my collarbone. Now the next 3.5 weeks have been somewhat more of an adventure. I have had some amazing triumphs, such as putting on my shirt by myself. This is because my parents came to town the day after the race for a completely unexpected thing. Not for me, but for something unrelated to this entirely. I brought them with me to the doctor's appointment that day. And the doctor said, Thomas, you probably shouldn't drive since you're going to be in this thing. My parents took that to mean, Thomas, you cannot drive. Since that day, I have been under what I have termed parental arrest for 4.5 weeks, with no end in sight. Parental arrest to me means I am allowed to go to school alone. I am allowed to go to the bathroom alone. And I am possibly allowed to have 30 to 60 minutes of free rec time alone. Otherwise, I have one parent with me at all times. I go to put my shirt on in the morning and struggle a little bit with my one hand, only to realize that my shirt's already buttoned because there's two hands I don't recognize. I go to pick up my book bag, only to realize it's already walking outside the door. I go to the passenger side, or I go to the car, only to be redirected to the passenger side. Now this is where it gets scary. This is true, factual, and not a single occurrence. Yesterday, me and my mom were driving. My mom has been my official chauffeur during this time. Where I stopped at a traffic light, the light turns green, but it's a green arrow. We don't go. She's waiting for the oncoming traffic to go first. After a couple seconds of realizing the oncoming traffic is not going to go, she looks over. What do you do at a green arrow? I love my parents. It's been awesome having them here. I can't thank them enough for what they have done. I know I joke a lot. I know I throw a lot of jokes about the time that we've had during this, but it has truly been a blessing having them here, and I know I can always rely on my parents, even when I may feel smothered or like I'm a driving education instructor. I'm glad nobody fainted. I anticipated this, and I waited until we were all at the #1 hospital in the nation. I hope you've enjoyed the journey from the Dreams of Iowa to that crashing event to the few humorous after effects that have followed. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tom. I really wish we could have collaborated on that speech. I think Bouncy Bouncy Fun 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 would have been a great title for that speech. If we can have 1 minute for the evaluations. There is our minute. Our third speaker today is working on your How to Say It speech. The title is it live or live? Okay, how to say it speech. That was a little landmark. Live deliberately. She has asked for 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Stacy.
I moved to the woods because I wished to live deliberately and not discover when I would die, but I'd never really lived. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests, these words written by Henry David Thoreau in his book Walden rang true to me in the fall of my 23rd year when I moved my life into a small one-bedroom cabin on the shores of Lake Superior. Over the next 2 years, I dedicated myself to living deliberately and and finding the depth and quality of life through responsibility for myself, caring for somebody else, and finding appreciation in the world around me. I had been a willful child, but it wasn't until I moved to the cabin that I truly felt independent for the first time. There was no one around looking out for me and taking care of me, and when the pipes froze and then thawed, and then poured a torrent of water over my precious books and my brand new computer, there was nobody around except for me to A, stop me from panicking, and B, find the shut-off valve for the main water line to the cabin. It was all me. I made my decisions. I was making my life. I found for the first time the comfort of caring for a creature who loved me. I know that my dog Brandy loved me because she had an independent streak that rivaled my own.